Hey guys, welcome to your first application or first project using MeteorJS in this series. In this chapter, we're going to be building a fairly simple to-do list application. And I realize it's kind of cliche to start out with a to-do list, but there's good reason for it. Basically, a to-do list gives you a good explanation of how to create a CRUD application. And by CRUD, I mean create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so those are the four things that you really want to do with whatever kind of content your application is serving. And a to-do is obviously really simple. It's just some text, maybe an ID, not much more than that. All right, so there's actually a tutorial on Meteor.com to build a to-do list, which is going to be pretty similar to what we're doing today. We're going to just do the bare minimum as far as file structure and all that. So let's get started. And as far as operating systems, I'm using Linux Ubuntu version 14.04, but you could just as well use Mac or Windows. Alright, so if we go to Meteor.com and click on install, you'll see that all we need to do here is run this curl command. If you're using Windows, you want to go ahead and download the official Meteor installer. Alright, so let's go ahead and run that. You want install.meteor.com and we want sh. Alright, so it's going to go ahead and download that. And while that's downloading, I'm going to just create a folder in my home directory called projects, and that's where we're going to build through the course. Alright, okay, let's see, Meteor has been installed in your home directory, so we're going to put in our password. And it gives us these 3 steps right here to actually create an application. Okay, so we want to use Meteor create and then whatever we want to name the application, and then we want to go into that directory, and then we can just run Meteor. Alright, so let's first go into the projects directory. Alright, now I'm going to run Meteor create to-dos. Alright, now if we go back over here and go into projects, we have a to-dos folder. If I open that up, it gives us 3 files, very simple. We have an HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a CSS file. Alright, now when building larger Meteor projects, you'll obviously have a much bigger file structure than this. For this particular application, we're actually just going to use these files just for simplicity, but in future applications it'll be much bigger than this. We'll have a client folder, server folder to separate the two. When using this structure here, if I open up todos.js, just going to show you real quick, you can see we have this conditional if meteor.isClient, and then everything in there is going to run on the client. Alright, here we have Meteor is server, everything in there is going to run on the server. Alright, but you can also create a client and server folder and do it that way, which is a lot easier to manage. Alright, so let's go ahead and go into the to-dos directory and run Meteor. And that's going to start the application up, and you can see now it's running on localhost port 3000. So if we go to that, and here it is. This is the just I guess the boilerplate application that comes with Meteor, and it's extremely simple. There's not really any UI. It's just a heading. And then we have this button. If we press this, it's going to go ahead and just add 1 to this number. Alright, if we reload it, it goes back to 0. Now let's go ahead and check out the code. Okay, so I'm using Sublime Text. as my text editor. Feel free to use whatever you'd like. Sublime Text does have a free version. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up my folder inside of Sublime. Alright, so now I have the application files right here. Alright, so if we open up the HTML file, you can see we just have a head, we have the head tags, we have the body tags, we have this welcome heading, and then we have this right here. Alright, so this syntax is from Spacebars. Alright, so Spacebars is the default template language that Meteor uses. You can also use underscore and handlebars and some of those other ones, but we're just going to stick with Spacebars for most of the projects. We may use something else later on. So I actually want to just show you the documentation real quick here. Alright, so very easy. If we go and look at these different template tags right here, using just the double curly braces, this is used to insert a string of text or just any kind of variable or anything that's going to be coming from your application. This right here, using the greater than inside of these curly braces, is an inclusion of another template, and that's exactly what we're looking at. If we go and look at this, we have the greater than and then hello, and down here you can see we have a template defined as with the name hello. So basically this is just including this. Alright, everything that you do in terms of HTML is going to be in between a template tag. Alright, using the template engine, it's only going to parse head tags, body tags, and template tags. Obviously anything in between the template tags is fine, but those are the main tags that are allowed. And then we can also do loops using this each right here. And we can also do conditionals, if statements. If you want to read more about Spacebars, there's a ton of documentation for it, and it's really easy to use. Alright, so let's go back to the code. Alright, like I said, we have a template called hello, and in future projects what we're going to do is create a folder called templates, and it'll be full of just files, templates that have this declaration, and they'll all have a unique name. Alright, now if we look at the todos.js file, as I showed you before, everything in this block here is going to run on the client, everything here is going to run on the server. Alright, now if we look here, we're using a session object, and we're using the setDefault method. Alright, so we're setting a session called counter to 0. Alright, now here is a helper. Every template you can include a helper, so it would be in the format of template name helpers. Alright, and you can assign functions and variables in here that you can use inside of your HTML. Alright, so right here we're defining a function called counter, and all we're doing is returning this session variable counter that we created up here. Alright, now this here we're defining an event, alright, in the hello template, and the event is when a button is clicked. Okay, this is similar to Ruby on Rails syntax. So if we look at the HTML, we have a button, so when we click it, it's going to run this function. Now what this function does is takes that session variable and adds 1 to it. Alright, so extremely simple. This is just to show you how everything works. Alright, so there's templates, and the templates we have helpers and events, okay, which can be run on the client or the server. Now, in addition to what we've talked about, we also have something called the Meteor Package Manager, which works pretty similar to NPM. If you were to build a Node application and use NPM to install some kind of module, we can do the same thing with the Meteor Package Manager. Alright, so what I want to do now is I'm going to do a Control-C to stop the project, and I want to use the Bootstrap framework for this application. All right, now we could just go and manually download Bootstrap and move the files over and all that. But with Meteor, there's something we can do much simpler than that. And we can do that using the package manager. So all we need to do is say Meteor add and then the name of the package. All right, and there's a few different Bootstrap modules that we can use. The one we're going to use is going to be TWBS Bootstrap. All right, so that's going to go ahead and install. All right, so now that we have that installed, if we go back and reload, whoops, we have to run it. Now you can see that the font has changed. Bootstrap is actually being implemented, and we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to include any CSS or anything. It just does it for us. All right, so Meteor is excellent for prototyping and just getting something up and going really quickly. So what I want to do now is go ahead and go to getbootstrap.com, and I'm going to grab just a sample template to start with. So if we go to getting started and then we go to examples, I'm going to grab this narrow jumbotron. Okay, so if we go and click on that and do a Control U, and what we want to do is copy all the source code and go back into todos.html, and we're just going to overwrite everything. All right, now it's not necessary to have the doc type. Meteor does that for you, as well as the HTML tags. Okay, so we can just take those out. Okay, take that out. And normally with a production app, you would have certain things split up. You'd probably have the head in a separate file, but we're not going to do that, because the point of this chapter, this project, is just to get you familiar with how it works, not exactly how different file structures, how they should be set up. We'll do that after. All right, so we can keep some of this stuff. We can keep these meta, the viewport, things like that. If you want to have a description, keywords, this is where you would do it. I'm going to get rid of this stuff. And then for the title, let's just say my to-dos. And then we can get rid of all this. We don't need a reference to the Bootstrap CSS. That's already implemented, so just get rid of all that. And then for the body, for now, actually, you know what? We'll just do this now. We're not going to have any other pages. This is going to be a single page application. There's not going to have any links or anything. So let's get rid of. Let's get rid of this nav. Okay, we're not going to need that. Project name. Let's just say my to-dos. And Jumbotron, we don't need that. And then this row here with two 6-column divs, I'm going to get rid of the second 6-column div. And then change this to be a 12-column div, so it goes across the whole page. And then down here, the copyright, we'll just put in my to-dos 2015, and we don't need this. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. Oh, one other thing, we need the custom CSS for this template, which is right here, Jumbotron Narrow CSS. So I'm going to grab all that, and I'm going to paste that into our CSS file. Alright, so now we can go and take a look. So this is it. We have our heading, we have the main area, and our footer. Alright, now all the to-dos are going to go in this area. So we can get rid of all these subheadings and paragraphs. What we're going to do is we're going to create a template down here. So template name, and we'll just call it main. And then let's just say this is the main template, and we want to put that right in where we want our main content. So right in here, we're going to use space bars, which is the template language that's used by default. And we want the double curly braces and then the greater than. Okay, and then we're going to specify the template name, which is main. So if we save that, that should reload, and now you can see that the main template is in there. Alright, so I think we're good to go. In the next video, we'll start creating our functionality so that we can read the to-dos from a collection.